Greetings, this is Ted A. Roberts with Seeking the Everlasting Gospel Ministries, and today we're starting on chapter 2 of Satan, the Devil, and Hell. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This chapter is simply called Lucifer, and we're going to start with a quote by John Wesley. "All the works of our evil nature are the work of the devil." When considering whom the devil is, or of what he is, we must first acknowledge that he, or it, has a few names, applications in Scripture, and it's important to learn of each one of them. For, and as I will presently show, some of the names, applications, actually have different meanings to them. So allow me to list the most popular terms: Satan, devil, Lucifer, beast, serpent, great dragon. So with that, I'm going to speak separately on each throughout this book until we form the base picture of where I'm going with all of my thoughts. Therefore, let's begin with Lucifer. We first encounter the word /name Lucifer in the book of Isaiah. In fact, it's really only found once in the entire Bible, in Isaiah, the Protestant Bible anyway, such as the King James Version. So in this passage, we'll have to see why many scholars connect Lucifer with the devil. So with that, let's go to Isaiah 14, verses 12 through 15. "How are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How are you cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, I will be like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit." And with that, we do have our first explanatory note for "Yet you shall be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit." Now, during the course of this chapter, I will not be tackling the subject of hell in this chapter. I have a couple of chapters dedicated to that later on in this book. However, and as I'm going to show with actual scripture and not just human conjecture, hell actually has a couple of meanings in the Bible, such as being simply the grave, or as in this instance for Lucifer, being brought down to the lowest state of humanity, or unto carnality, or unto misery. For as many actually believe, hell can also be an undesirable condition here on earth before physical death is even achieved. And that's just exactly what I believe his hell state to be. Now, this is going to be revealed as I plod along and with how I will handle the hell subject later on. So please stay tuned for that. Let's go back to the regular part of the book. Now, at first, and with this small set of scripture, it may not be too difficult for us to see why a lot of scholars, now that is when I read Isaiah 14, 12 through 15. So with that, let me start over with this paragraph. At first, and with that small set of scripture, it may not be too difficult for us to see why a lot of scholars associate Lucifer with the devil and Satan. But that's only at first. When we begin to dig just a tad bit deeper, we can see that holding on to that belief gets harder to do. In fact, if we climb just a few scriptures above these to verse 4 in that same chapter of Isaiah, something strange occurs. That is, we can see that this message to Lucifer was really addressed to an earthen king of BC times, the king of Babylon. Now, this brings us to our second explanatory note for the king of Babylon. Now, of he being called the king of Babylon should be a serious consideration. Many certainly will apply this as to being a highly metaphorical observation only, saying that this merely means that he was the king of confusion, since many believe that Babylon spiritually is really such. If that's so, then our investigation will run back to the master of all evils, the devil, as to being this very Lucifer that we're investigating. However, if the possibility of Lucifer being a mere man continues, and indeed the naturalness of the situation, and that this king of Babylon had an actual place in history, then traditionalists will have a real problem on their hands. Certainly, we'll continue to explore all the possibilities. So please have patience as I slowly build my case about this. But also, I'm not saying that even if we can apply a natural interpretation to our verses of Isaiah, that we can't also find a spiritual interpretation as well. However, and even so, that is that we just may find both a natural and a spiritual interpretation that does not apply, in the very least, that Lucifer is the devil of tradition beyond a shadow of a doubt, as I'm going to continue to demonstrate herein. All right. Not only so, but Isaiah's words are addressed to this king of Babylon in a proverb. Now, what does that even mean, a proverb? Knowing what a proverb is may actually help unlock the key of this mystery for us. So, having said that, let's go to Isaiah 14, verse 4a. You shall take up this proverb against the king of Babylon. Not only, but, and before I get into a small bit of detail concerning this proverb, we're going to also see just one scripture below our initial set of scriptures that we just read a moment ago about Lucifer, that this new passage actually calls Lucifer, this king of Babylon, a mere man. Let's go to Isaiah 14:16. They that see you, they're going to narrowly look upon you and consider you, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? You mean that this was the man that you were so afraid of? If this were a spiritual being, then why would people consider him to be a mere man? Easily said. He had to be a man to begin with, especially considering the Hebrew dictionary meaning for the word ish, which is translated into English as man in this passage. So having said that, let's go to Strong's Hebrew Dictionary for man, or ish, and it says a man as an individual or a male person, often used as an adjunct to a more definite term. It's a man. You know, I've got it listed right here on the screen for you to see that whole definition. But could this Lucifer therefore really have been just a man? Or was the expression man herein simply a phrase of description without anything significantly natural in its expression at all, such as in the case of Jesus himself? For it seems that in a few instances the scriptures call him a man too. Then in others it particularly says that he's not a mere man, such as in Romans 5:15b. Much more the grace of God and the gift by grace, which is by one man, Jesus Christ, has abounded unto many, compared to Galatians 1:12. For I neither received it of man, neither was I taught it by man, but by the revelation of Jesus Christ. For if Jesus were or is a mere man, then Galatians 1:12 would really may not, I can't even talk today, It wouldn't make any sense, considering that Paul here is referencing the risen Christ and not he during his earthen ministry. Okay, you guessed it. Explanatory note for that. For not he during his earthen ministry. Let's also consider this verse, Ephesians 2:15. Having abolished in his flesh, when he died on the cross, the enmity, the enemy, even which was the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make unto himself, when he rose from the tomb, of twain one new man, so making peace. Can we attribute this verse as to saying that Jesus was an actual man when he arose from the tomb? Especially since it just said in Ephesians that he was a man when he arose. Or actually, it said that he was a new man. There are certainly times when the term man can either be attributed to a fleshly being or can be a description to a heavenly being who is in human form. With how the scriptures term it at times, it can get a little bit confusing to the reader. Therefore, my statements in the main part of the book, where I say that Lucifer was just a mere man, based on Isaiah 14:16, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, may not really be convincing to everybody. Be that as it may, we'll have to let the rest of the statements concerning Lucifer be the final deciding factor about whether this is so or not. For if a solid case can finally be made concerning the devil, then we'll have to revisit this thought and make a decision based on all the clues at hand. Certainly, with how the theme of this book is going, I myself will come to the ultimate conclusion that Lucifer was really only a fleshly man who had gained great power on earth in his kingdom. Now, concerning whether or not Jesus was a mere man when he rose from the tomb, I think that our quoted verse from the main part of the book can help us decide that. Let's go back to Galatians 1:12. For I neither received it of man, neither was I taught it by a man, but by the revelation of Jesus Christ. Not only was it a revelation of Jesus, but they were revelations given to him by Jesus. Galatians 1:16b. To reveal the Father's Son in me, Jesus, that I might preach him, Jesus, among the heathen. Immediately I conferred not with flesh and blood, but with Jesus. All right, that's it for that explanatory note.